I just want to tell you a little bit about BT, just in case people haven't heard of BT. So we're just in case, yeah. We're one of the world's leading communications companies. We're also the oldest communications company as well. We're about 175 years old, so we've been around a while. What we've got probably about 100,000 employees, and we've got millions of customers. Okay, and a lot of those are our actual consumer customers, our end user customers, not necessarily within B2B or B2E. It's very B2C based. Now, what people don't necessarily know is that BT is not just BT. It is made up of lots of different CFUs. So basically we have got our OpenReach area, which is basically all our networks, that's our infrastructure. And then we've got our value brand, which is PlusNet. As well as our EE brand, which is our mobile brand that we operate under. And we've also got BT. Now BT is a little bit different because it isn't just one brand. We've got under that BT banner, we've got BT Consumer, we've got BT Retail, we've also got our enterprise and our global businesses as well, okay? So, and one of the big things for us this year, well, not just this year, but going forward, is cybersecurity and making sure that our customers feel confident and safe giving us their data. It's really important to us. We are attacked a lot. We thwart like 6,000 plus attacks daily, okay? We're quite popular, so unfortunately. So why do we want to change? The reason we need to change is because we want to be trusted. We want to be, use the best in class kind of technology and build foundations for the future. At the moment, we have a lot of legacy tech. So we're actually using two platforms. We use SiteMinder, which is kind of more of a stay as it is kind of platform. It's not got a roadmap. It hasn't modernized. It hasn't changed in a really long time. So we want to be able to give our customers the best in class. We don't want to be working on old tech. And also Apogee, which, as you're probably aware, isn't an identity platform, so not really the solution to use. So, that's why we want to change. We want to be better. So, to do that, we came up with a vision. This is a combined vision of digital, which is our technology space, and our consumer vision. Each of our different areas there'll be a consumer vision, there'll be an enterprise vision, a global vision, etc. But for consumer, we want it to be personal. We want, Jazz was mentioning before about that branding concept and being able to make it personalized. So whether it's PlusNet or EE or whatever. So we want it to be personalized. We want it to be secure. We want it to be trusted, which is really important to us. We want to be trusted by our customers with their data and with their information. And the digital vision is we want to be able to use all this cool tech in identity. We don't want to be stuck on just using a password. We want to use all the MFA. We want to use all of the trustless. We want to move to passwordless, etc. So we've got to have a really good foundation to be able to build that on. So I'm going to hand over to Roy now, who's going to tell you about that foundation.
Thank you. So, guidance from the business, but also we needed guidance from architecture, myself and my colleagues, and from security. And we needed to start with some strong underlying principles. Right? So we wanted to make sure that while we have passwords, and our direction clearly is towards a passwordless future, is that those passwords are protected as much as possible. We have no APIs. Right? The first thing we did when we started to build our strategic framework, the first thing the business is, well, how do we interact with you? What's the API? Well, there is no API. You have to come to us to build the identity, and then we return back to you. So it's about making sure that passwords, and I think I've probably gone on to that one, so to cover this one first, sorry. So only the authentication platform can handle the password. That's the creation of the password, the management of the password, the reset, etc. We don't allow that to be collected anywhere else. It happens with us. And more importantly, for the actual identity itself, whether an email address, etc., we need to know that you've got access to that email address at the point where you're creating an ID. So we have to verify it. So if it's not verified, And if we haven't collected the password ourselves, we don't consider it a digital ID. Right? So that's the principles that we're working on. That was a joint principle between myself as the CIM architect and the security architects. We also wanted to create a single framework. Right? As Claire said, we're a very complex business. We've got multiple brands, and especially within BT, we've got multiple lines of business within that brand. Now, what we didn't want to do was build a authentication solution for each brand and each line of business. That would be crazy. We'd end up with about 7 or 8 different platforms. We'd also end up with customization down to individual CFU or individual product or service. It's our brands that are known, it's our brands that are trusted, and we want to build on those brands to actually build that trust even further. So we have a single framework, and we call it SAF. It's our single authentication framework. And these are some of the principles we've got here, but basically, so we keep it as secure as possible. And all the stuff on the threat protection stuff there is all the stuff comes out of B2C, which is the enterprise grade stuff, right? And B2C was definitely the right decision for us. All the stuff that Jazz talked about with the pixel perfect UX, etc. So the single framework, it's a true common capability. That means we develop it once and it's used everywhere. All the features that we provide are provided to every single part of the business. They just choose which features they want to use. We've gone with an event-driven architecture. We use a lot of pub/sub. In our legacy stuff, you'll find there's bits of consumer code here, bits of enterprise code there, etc. If you want to maintain it, we've got to go in and we've got to dig inside everything, etc. The purpose here is that it's a black box. SAF does what it needs to do. If the business needs to interact with it, they can interact with it when something happens. So when an ID is created, they can then go off and create that profile if they want to. They can go off and send a welcome email if they want to. We don't care what they do. As long as the ID is being created and created securely, that's our job done. Single suite of experiences. We have one sign up, one sign in flow. We have one password reset flow. We have one compromise account flow, right? All we do is we skin it. And this is the pixel perfect stuff that Jazz was talking about. So basically, we have an EE skin, we have a BT skin, we have a PlusNet skin, and we have an OpenReach skin. If we ever update the flow, if we ever update a new authentication feature like passwordless, like passkeys, for example, we'll create the CX for that, drop it into the product, and it'll be skinned according to the application that's calling it. It's what I call our single drawbridge. We have one front door in our security. We makes it great for SecOps, for DevOps, etc. They're only looking in one place for things that are going wrong, for vulnerabilities, etc. And it's that product mindset that we're using. So we're not customizing. We want our customers to self-serve. Again, another thing that Jazz talked about. They can go to our internal marketplace and register their application and just start using it. We're adopting industry standards. We're OIDC first. We're OWASP second. We're SAML for stuff that exists today. Ideally, we will not be onboarding anything new using SAML. It'll be OIDC first. So this is what we built. Now, although we tell the business it's a multi-tenanted capability, each B2C tenant is a set in its own right. So if you take that wider framework and wrapped it around it, this is the product mindset in action. We deploy that set of capabilities to each one of those tenants. We've got a couple of idiosyncrasies. So obviously with email there in the middle, we've got a strange relationship between the email platform and the authentication platform. So we had to ring fence it slightly differently. But you'll see on the left, we've got our SIEM, our DevOps, our SecOps, our event, our EDA on the right, and all the stuff coming in from the top, which is basically where the apps and the customers come in, and where internally where things are actioned as well. We don't use any frameworks in our CX. There's no React, there's no Angular, etc. and stuff like that. We purposely built lightweight pages so they serve really, really quickly. They work on any device in any format, etc. We're using Azure Front Door as our WAF, And then it's a wholly serverless Azure capability that we built. So again, Jazz touched on this as well with the API capabilities. While we don't offer APIs out externally, we are taking advantage of some of those APIs that are available from the orchestration capabilities that B2C brings. So we are doing in-place migration. Our customers won't know they're being migrated. They come to us, they'll enter their credentials, we'll check those credentials against our incumbent platform, and if they're correct, then basically we'll move that account to B2C. And it's about that minimal customer impact. Yeah, we don't want to alert everyone that although I'm doing it to everyone in the room today, that we're actually changing our authentication platform. We don't want the bad guys to know that they want to come and attack us quick before we move on to something really, really secure. But from a customer perspective, we want to make sure that experience is really good. We also know on this passwordless journey, and Claire talked about millions of customers, we're talking 35 million customers. The potential to bring on this journey from 1FA through to strong authentication. I try not to use the word multi-factor. Multi-factor is in there, but I prefer strong authentication because strong doesn't have to be multi. That's a whole different subject for another time. And again, adopt as a product. There should be minimal interaction between the engineering teams inside BT to use this. Right? It should be completely self-serve. They just adopt it and it works. As I said there. Now, we are adding new features. We are looking to do to move to strong authentication to passwordless. You know, we as a business, we expect all our suppliers to allow us to log into their applications, so SAP, etc., with our work credentials. But we don't offer that to our customers, and to our customers, we're a supplier. So we're going to be adding corporate federation, exactly what Jazz said about you can link, other Active Directories to B2C. We'll be using that so our customers can log into our services using their own workplace credentials. And if we integrate that at our framework level, the business only needs to federate with us once, and then we can cover all the access controls from that point onwards. Verified identity, something it might end up being verified ID. It's still something that's in the early days of being sorted out, but we are looking to do some things along those lines. And points mentioned about social ID link as well. So we're not going to allow customers to log into our services using social IDs for some of the reasons that have been outlined. And also people can be quite fickle with their social IDs. You know, they like move from one to another. God forbid you get banned or go to Facebook jail, which we all know about Facebook jail, right? And if that stops you logging into your core services from us, that's not good, right? But also, you have to think about the quality of those identities. I mean, I use Facebook. I purposely went and found multi-factor in Facebook and turned it on. And I get 3 times a month someone trying to ping. I get pings from Facebook saying trying to log into your account. We want to make sure that we can wrap our strong authentication around them. Now we know if you want to talk to us over Messenger or WhatsApp, we need to link to that ID, but we want to wrap that in the strong authentication support and the multi-factor support that we get from B2C. One of the things we have done, something I've been striving to for 5 years, is if you use BBC iPlayer on a smart TV,
right.
You enter a code. Oh, we've got to move on. Right, okay, sorry.
It's also on the next slide.
Is it on the next slide? Yes, it's on the next slide.
Mine.
I'll hand that to you. So I could talk on this for hours. I'm sorry.
And he does. Right. So obviously Roy had got some nice pictures, some nice ideas. So then what we, with Jamie and Harsha and the rest of the team, what we've done is we've actually gone through and figured out how we actually deliver that. So there's quite a lot of stuff that we've done in the last year. So I picked this up probably August last year. And since then, Roy and Jamie have been working on the strategy. So Jamie, if nobody knows, he's from Kocho. So we engaged those guys. Roy and Jamie have worked out the strategy. How are we going to implement this? How do we create that purple diagram? How do we make it a reality? So we got the strategy. We did that quite quickly, didn't we, really, Jamie? And then we did a tribe kickoff. So we got all the people that we needed, the UI, the testers, the configurers, everybody. We engaged everyone. We got everything kicked off. And by by Christmas, we were ready for people to start to actually use it, test it, trial it. Now we've got probably 150 plus apps in our B2C kind of space that our customers use across all our brands. So that's not going to happen overnight, because that's a huge legacy project that we have to migrate. So we've started that, and we started with EE. We've actually now migrated all of our EE customers over to a single authentication, which we commonly refer to as SAF. So they're actually now using it. If you've got EE, you can log into your EE app. You're now using our B2C Azure authentication. Okay. We, at the same time, I also wanted to make sure it was really secure as well. So I work really closely with a lot of security people, because it's probably the one area where you want an abundance of security people. So we've actually introduced Netacea, which is an anti-bot protection, and we've also introduced Sentinel. So we're using Sentinel to get information from Netacea, from our log files and all our active logs, to basically create a single dashboard that our cyber ops teams can use to kind of recognise and identify threats, and then action and fix them, and stop them and block them. So we've done that. We also have started the adoption for the BT side, for the consumer side. So we're actually, because of the complexity and the bespokeness of our current solution, it does take quite a while to kind of migrate some of these applications. And we've already got adoption in BT Global. So they've already started to use SAF as well. And we probably have about 3.3 to 3.5 million users now actively using our single authentication platform. We've also, on top of that, not just moved our legacy, but we've actually launched some new apps onto the single authentication framework. And we're also doing trials around device flow, which obviously Roy's very excited about, because he tried to tell you sooner. So, and we've done that. That's basically, if you're trying to log into your BT Sport app, or you're trying to log into your TV, then you log in now. Well, you will log in via SAF if you're not on the trial. You'll just continue to do it as normal. But if you're on the trial, you're now using our device flow capability. And then we're just about to, and also what we did was we made it so that if you have 2FA or you have multi-factor already from the previous solution, then you would get it as soon as you move over to SAF. You wouldn't notice the difference. You'd still be able to use multi-factor. Okay. If you don't have it, we wouldn't force you to have it at this stage. And we're just about to launch the OpenReach portal as well, which was really nice because it was a clean instance. There was no legacy. So, and that makes things so much quicker and so much easier. Okay. Right, Roy, you've got your futures. So Roy's just going to tell you about what comes next. So we've got a bit of a roadmap.
Yeah, and just before that, so, and in answer one of the questions earlier, B2C versus B2C. I mean, so we're working at 3.5 million monthly active users at the moment. When we finish the migration, we're going to be up at the 10 to 12, and we're looking to go to the 15 to 16 million monthly active users, right? We've got over 30 million customers. If you look at the licensing model of B2B, that would be one license per customer, whether they used it regularly or not. With B2C, it's monthly active users. So if we get a peak one month and we get lots of people log in, we pay for that. If we get a quiet month, we don't pay for it. So I think one of the key differences between B2B and B2C is the licensing model. And that was a key differentiator for me when choosing the solution for our CM product. So right now we're going through the adoption. We've got to decommission all the old stuff. We are doing some federation, etc. And we've got my lovely device code flow. So no more entering your username and password with your remote control. For me, that's heaven. Corporate federation and strong authentication is next. So that's the introduction of all the passwordless stuff. Now, I've mentioned millions of customers. We need to bring these customers on a journey with us. So we've talked long and hard over the last couple of days about bringing on multi-factor, strong authentication, etc. In an organisation, I would say you have a little pain for a lot of gain, right? So basically, you can go hard with strong authentication, and people will get used to it. I always use my wife and my dad as my examples of how not to do ramp things up. My wife can never remember password. She's got a book full, right? We probably all have family members along those lines. I'm slowly moving her to a password manager and authenticator. My dad's 86. He doesn't even he doesn't use fingerprint or pins on his phone. It's just open. But he does his banking on his mobile. Great. Right? So we have to bring these people on a journey with us. So we are going to stage our migration from single factor to strong authentication to allow customers to join us where they're comfortable. So we know that customers already use authenticator apps. We know customers will want to use passkeys, etc. We will make these capabilities available, but what we will do over a period of time, we'll start to nudge people. An MSA, everybody got a Microsoft account, used for stuff, etc. Initially, username, password, and then I added the Microsoft Authenticator, and it was username, password, authenticator. And then at some point, and I can't even remember when it happened, it went username, authenticator. They stopped asking me for a password. So I haven't gone passwordless, because this was all discussed yesterday with Dave Guest, etc. And that is that the password still exists, but actually we're bypassing the password and then we're going straight to strong authentication. That was genius for me. It's like I've gone strong and I didn't even realize I'd gone strong. So for our customers, we're going to do a similar kind of thing where we want to encourage them and nudge them along. So once we drop one FA, if you go through a password reset, you'll be opted into some kind of stronger authentication, and then we'll slowly move you down the line. Verify ID is a combination of what Rohit was talking about this morning, but it's also, we want the EEID and the BTID to be used by other. We want to be seen that trusted that you will use it to log into other services. So once you've verified yourself with us, actually you can go into the e-store and pick up your iPhone 14. Those kind of scenarios. The concept of a household. Now, this is at the moment. If you are the bill holder on the BT or EE account, you get Wi-Fi, you get sport, you get all the nice things. But every member of your family has to use your credentials. Right? I don't share my credentials with anyone. My son hates it because when everyone wants to watch football and he's timed out, he has to come and find me so I can enter it and make sure it doesn't get remembered, etc. But what I could do going forward is I could invite him to take a digital ID, and then he's got his own credentials. Then I can give him permission to access sport with his own ID, and I can also take it away. More importantly, so that's the concept of a household, and the idea is that we can then actually encourage more people to get online and share our services. I covered social linking earlier. It's about linking accounts. It's not using accounts to sign in. And PlusNet, basically, once the dust settled on the BT and the EE migration, will then basically bring them into the fold as well.